For hi,
Hello.
how are
Hello.
you?
Good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, very clear, very clear. I've had to actually fill in for the moderator because she's struggling with her network.
Yes.
So that's fine. As I think as she when she joins, and then the other panelists also, I'm going to maybe sit in the background, and so that because I noticed I was told that the moderator and the other panelists are struggling to join. So I said, okay, let me just fill in because development you can never go wrong with it pretty much. And I can see the audience too are joining gradually. They're trickling in. So I think it will be a good point to maybe I think let's know more about you. I know I did go through your profile on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So when you confirmed attendance here, but for the sake
You're breaking up a little bit.
of do.
Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit. Are you happy for me to start and can you hear me?
Yeah, I think I can hear you now, Zara.
Good, great. Um, so firstly,
Yes,
thank you
yes,
very much for giving me the opportunity to speak at your event. I saw you have a very packed
yeah,
agenda. So it's nice that you fit in a time for our sector and our space development. As you said, it
yeah.
goes on and it's easy to speak about, so it's great to speak about it at this forum. So I'm Zara Durrani. I am dialing in from London currently. I work as a senior consultant within the education team at Oxford Policy Management. That's an international development consultancy based in Oxford, and we do actually have an office in Abuja. Um, and I lead our work on inclusive education. So, focusing on things like girls' education,
Yeah.
education for marginalized groups, child safety, etc., etc. Yes,
Okay.
great.
So is it the same as Oxfam also? Because I always used to think, what is the? It's a
It,
different.
It's slightly different. So Oxfam is a
Okay.
charity,
Okay.
and our organization is a development consultancy. So we
Yeah.
provide, for example, policy and analytical support. We do a lot of research,
Yeah.
monitoring and evaluation for both for donor
Yeah.
governments, so for example, USAID, FCDO, World
Mm,
Bank,
yeah.
but also for sovereign governments. So, for example, government of Sierra Leone or government of Lebanon,
Yeah.
and yes. We, like I said, we do have an office in Abuja. I've been there a couple of times, not recently, but pre-pandemic. It's a lovely office and some
Yeah.
lovely colleagues.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very interesting actually. Especially the developmental space, not just in Abuja, but in so many different parts of Nigeria. You see, right now we are over, by estimation, we're over 200 million apparently. But yet, majority of those populations are really dependent on not just the national but international development agencies. So
Yes.
tackling issues of poverty, of education, like you said, very, very, very at the
Mm,
forward, at the center stage of everything.
yeah.
But what do you, uh, if you can tell me, what typically is your approach to existing in this developmental space, but also not just existing, but also hitting success and thriving in it? Because some of our audience right now, they are thinking of possibly going into those spaces. Some of them are targeting education, some poverty, some out of school kids, some gender related matters, and all that. So how would you say typically these young audience of ours, if they want to delve into it, how will they determine which of the different aspects to hit, whether it's poverty, education, and all that, basically?
Great. I mean, I think that's a really useful question. And maybe I'll answer it by speaking a little bit about my experience and then tailoring it to what, for example, what are some of the things that could work in your favor if you're interested in working in this. So it was interesting when you were
Yeah.
speaking about Nigeria. I'm actually from Pakistan originally, and I feel that's
Yeah.
very similar to your country. We face a lot of the similar issues. I mean, I've grown up in Pakistan, spent the first 3 decades of my life in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and I feel that has shaped a lot of the choices and I mean, a lot of the experiences I've had, which might be similar to people in the audience, as you say. For example, I've also
Yeah.
seen inequality. I mean, Pakistan has a issue problem with poverty. We face
Yeah.
lots of national disasters. Currently, for example, there's very bad flooding going on. 1/3 of the country is underwater. And again, similar to Nigeria, we have political unrest. We've struggled with security issues, etc., etc. So, I mean, it's been a long history of and a day-to-day struggle for identity and development. And
Yeah.
I feel that really factored on what pushed me. I mean, I was an economics undergrad.
Yeah.
I was studying in Pakistan, and it was in my second year that I did an internship. With this local NGO that focused
Yeah.
on community organization at the grassroots level. And I feel that was probably the turning point for me. I mean, you have different threads. I mean, you do economics, you can go into the finance stream, you can go into the economic stream, you can change. I think that was the sort of flipping point for me because it's, it, I mean, it gave me a rough direction of something I could hang on to. Because, I mean, at the core of their approach, and I think this is interesting, it stuck with me 10 years down, was in order to
Yeah.
achieve change, they said there's two things. One, you need to work at scale. So
Yeah.
in terms of access. And the second thing they said that you need to work alongside the government or the public sector. And that's
Exactly.
really how you'll have impact. And I feel that stuck with me. And over them, I mean, after that, I went to finish on my degree. I actually went to work for this organization. Then I went to do my master's in development studies, which again, like you said at the beginning, this whole space is a fairly flexible space. I mean, it's not that you need to have done certain courses or certain degrees in order to work here. I mean, I've had colleagues who've been, I mean, linguistics backgrounds, right? Or they've come in from finance or from engineering. So
Yeah.
I feel a lot of it really comes about what it is that drives you.
Yeah.
And I feel for people who are interested in working in this space, it's probably useful to sit and ask yourself one basic question, which is, what do you think will be a measure of success for you? What will it be that gives you happiness? I see, sorry, that other colleagues are joining in. We
There's,
did make a start, but I'll keep it short and maybe
yeah.
we can pass on after
There's
that.
once you land on your point, I'll just hand over to them and I'll be in the background.
Excellent, great.
Yeah.
Yes, so I was saying, I mean, in this sector, I'll be honest, it's not the most high paying sector, right? You do end up working long hours, but really, if you realize at the bottom that question of what it is that drives you, if it is something to do with a small, I mean, a change to people's lives, whether it is a small change, you teach them a new skill during a training or something at a bigger scale, I feel if you can answer that question and be honest with yourself, that's probably sort of, yes, maybe this is the sector for you.
Yeah.
And the other point that I would probably add to this is it is a very, like you said, it's a very diverse sector, right?
Yeah.
Like you can, I mean, development means very different things depending on who you're speaking to or what agenda or what context you're working in.
Yeah.
And I feel, I mean, again, I'm from Pakistan.
Yeah.
Members of your audience might be from Nigeria. I feel living and belonging to a developing country, it sort of gives you it gives you a step up, or it gives you a little bit more focus than someone, for example, from, I mean, the developed world wanting to enter this space. right? You see issues day to day
Yeah.
around you, and you can sort of determine what it is that really matters to you, and I would say then and follow through with that one. That was a long
Yeah,
answer.
yeah. And actually,
Yes.
no, no, it totally makes sense actually, because I always wonder, like, what does somebody even have to go and study in school to become a developmentalist or
Yes.
to go into that space? Or do you, as you said, you may have studied education, you may have studied law. Somebody like I studied engineering originally, so would I
Yeah.
have existed in the developmental space? Who knows? So that's why that
Yeah.
question was on my mind.
No,
But
entirely. I mean, I don't
yes,
think in this field, I feel a lot of it is learning by doing and learning through experience. So it's not, I mean, you might learn a certain concept or a certain theoretical framework at university or school. For example, I did economics and then I did development studies. But if
okay,
I am honest about how much of that translated into my day-to-day job, it's
yeah.
probably 10%, right? Maximum 10-15%. So it's a lot of it is sort of being in that space,
Yeah,
identifying what matters to you, and
yeah,
just basic critical thinking skills, really.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I think that totally makes sense. You found out that you wanted to go into development after becoming an economist, yeah, from life experiences and things
Yes.
like that. You found that passion and that need to be there. So on this note, let me. Mercy is just above my screen right now. She's actually the main moderator. I don't know if you can hear me, Mercy. And I see Hadiza has joined also. Hadiza, before you joined, Ms. Zara introduced herself and how she got into the developmental work. And the question she had just finished asking was, how does one even know which aspect of development they should focus on? Is it education, poverty, healthcare, gender inequality, and all that? So on that note, if Mercy can hear me, are you ready to take over? I had to step in because she was having some challenges technically. Mercy, if you can hear us.
Before Mercy comes back on, maybe just an opportunity to quickly say a
Yes,
few words.
yes. Go ahead.
You're right. I was having a few connectivity issues and only joined, but I was able to listen very intently to your conversations. Very interesting. As I know, Zara wanted to stop and give the opportunity to other panelists to comment, but I was thoroughly enjoying the discussions. Very, very interesting. So,
Yes, you can actually introduce yourself, Ms. Hadiza, and then
of
also
course,
work within the developmental space
of
and how
course.
you also got into it.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
my name is Hadiza Abba, and I introduce myself as a gender and child rights advocate, but I'm also currently working as a child protection specialist with UNICEF. So I've been here in Nigeria, based in the country office, but I've also worked with various industries and sectors. I worked in other UN and development agencies, as well as national NGOs, and also with the public service and the private sector. I had the early start of my career was working in the banking sector, and then I did a bit of legal practice, being a lawyer by training. Like Zara, I also have a master's in international development and human rights from University of Warwick, which is something I'm very proud of because it's something that is very close to my heart and was a defining moment for me in terms of the path that I've taken so far in development. I have a huge, tremendous passion for advancing women's rights, human rights, developing national development. And this is, really an area that I think that I've been doing, and I'm sure that I'll be doing for a long time. In spite of also what Zara said about it not always being the most rewarding, in terms of if you're, going in to make the money, or to get some short-lived you know experiences. So it's really a career for the long haul, and you really have to have the passion that will really sustain you when you're going in between. You're doing missions, back-to-back missions, traveling to the most remote parts of the countries. But for me, at the end of the day, meeting wonderful and amazing people, that you can really see the impact, making a difference in their lives. It's really something that is I find thoroughly rewarding, and this is what you have to look at what really interests you, and find it for yourself as your real motivating factor. And it's also about it's also a constantly, if you talk about entrepreneurship in development, to be honest, my first instincts when I saw the topic, I felt, this doesn't make sense. Development is completely not about making profit. And I mean, in the, in the real sense of the term entrepreneurship, which is about promoting making profit, a business person, making profit and all that. So, but then when I really thought about it, and also based on previous earlier conversations, and it's about having an entrepreneurial mindset, and every sector has a currency. Every sector has its currency. Every sector, it might not be US dollars, it might not be cash, but actually, if you think about it now, development thinking is also looking at how to make use of resources, how to make the best use of resources, how to leverage on other partnerships, partners from private sector, to really drive transformative initiatives and actions. So definitely, it's an area that it's traditionally not looked at from that sense. But I think in terms of innovation and thinking forward, it's definitely there's more space to have this discussion, and to see how development can be enhanced. So I'm going to stop here. Our moderator is back on, so give her the floor. Over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, and just before Mercy takes over, if I can say, you are right. Many of the participants actually thought, why entrepreneurial life in this? You are right, actually, you were spot on. It's actually about thinking like the heads of the organizations, because at the end of the day, influence is important as a developmentalist. Value is important, and also profitability is important. The difference is that you are applying it within your sector or within your industry, and also wherever you live in. So finance, economy very much takes a center stage also in every type of endeavor in life. So this is why it was very important to, as you said, it's a mindset shift. It's not really entrepreneurship, it's entrepreneurial thinking, even though most of those thinking and skills and mindset are borrowed from people that are in enterprise, but you can apply it still within the developmental space, within government, even within education, within your personal life, in fact, at your home. So Mercy, are you ready to take over?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I've been struggling a lot with the platform. I know I come on, I don't hear anybody. Now I don't see Zara at all. I couldn't hear her throughout her discussions. And she and I actually were on the platform for like 15 minutes before everybody came on board. And then somehow I couldn't hear her. Now I can't see her. I only hear Hadiza and Bello somehow. So please, apologies, I wasn't late, but I'm facing some technical challenges. Let me just hop on what Hadiza said. You talked about having like an entrepreneurial mindset in the development sector. I want to ask you, like, what benefits do you see having this kind of mindset? What benefits do you think it could add? What value do you think it adds in the development sector?
Yeah, so I talked about it a bit earlier that every sector has its currency. Um, and whenever you find yourself in any organization, you have to see, where you can add value, and how you can, use your skills, your knowledge, and, to really see how you can take it to the next steps and how you can make the organization achieve, its mandate. So entrepreneurial thinking is, it's everything. It's what helps you to do just that. And the more we are able to think in that sense, I think it's going to really help organizations achieve their mandates, individuals also to fulfill whatever, personal or career development goals that they have within that. So I will give you an example. Right now, I work in UNICEF, which really, delivers. It's about delivering results for children. So, that is the currency in anything that I do that would inform my actions, or how we project ourselves in terms of our corporate image, in terms of working with government, with communities. That is the key message that we try to send. So in terms of branding, that has to come out in terms of our reporting, in terms of our utilization of the funds, and so forth. And so, yeah, entrepreneurial thinking is definitely the way to go.
Can I come
Over
in
to
here?
you.
Thank you so much, Hadiza. I'm so happy that you brought this up, because it has to do, from what you said, it has a lot to do with the mindset, being a go-getter, pushing to achieve objectives, even though maybe it's not a business, it's not a for-profit venture, but pushing yourself to meet targets, milestones. So it's really interesting to look at it from that perspective. I can't see Zara, but I'm still hoping she's here. My next question will go over to her. Is she here? Is she still here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
I would take my next question over to her, because from what Mr. Congo said, he mentioned that you highlighted the fact that it may not be the most rewarding career, which is very true in the sense. But I want to also ask, just to jump off that same mindset. Is it something, I don't know if you've touched up on it, please apologies. As I said, I couldn't hear much of what you were saying, but I would really like to know from your perspective, is it something that, okay, it may not be financially rewarding? Is it something you would like, maybe as your younger self, tell yourself that you would want to go into again? Or would you want to do it a bit differently? Or would you have, what would you have done differently? Like, maybe knowing what you know now, knowing everything about the development sector, understanding entrepreneurship as well. What would you do differently? Would you still take the path you took to arrive at where you are today?
Thank you for that question. I mean, I think it's a really important question, and especially when you're at the start of your career or just out of university, it's a question a lot of us struggle with. And I'll try and connect your question to what Hadiza was also saying. I did say that it is not the most financially rewarding sector, but I would definitely say that it is a rewarding sector, right? It just depends on how you define reward. And like Hadiza said, like it's a currency. Every sector has a currency. In this sector, that currency, I mean, I won't say it's not entirely financial, but there is an impact aspect to it, right? Impact and like if that is important to you, as in, for example, if you get reward from, like I said, seeing a small change or a small contribution to someone's life, that I find that extremely rewarding. I mean, I can give you an example. I've been working on this project in Sierra Leone.
Sorry, Mr. Tongo, you have to tell me when she's done, because I can't hear her. Literally can't hear her.
Okay, yeah, we can hear her, I think.
Okay,
Hadiza,
you can hear me?
her?
Yeah, I can hear
go
you.
ahead.
Great.
Go ahead,
yeah, I was saying I have this project in Sierra Leone, which has given me more white hair and more stress than anything has given me in the last 4 years. But I mean, it's a education project funded by the UK government, and what we did was, I mean, as part of one of the outputs, we made a small documentary on this small rural school. I mean, on an island really, where they were getting really good results, and we were interested to know how that school was getting those results, even though like the odds were not in its favor. We made that documentary, and somehow or the other, it sort of came across some individual altruist abroad, and he decided to send 100 plus bicycles for all the children from that particular school. And if I show you the videos coming out from there, like the whole village had collected when our colleague was going in to distribute those bicycles. The whole village had collected. They were all chanting. They were all clapping, and it was just, I mean, it's just a very different feeling, right? It makes those 5 years of problems and all the white hair worth it, right? Like it's just seeing that little bit makes a difference to someone's life. I mean, for me, I find that very rewarding. And if I connect that to Mercy's question on whether I would have made the same choices again, I would say yes. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they said they're actually, I mean, you can address the same problem with very different routes, right? Yes, we see problems of poverty. We want to help people in education. One way is the way, for example, Hadiza and I've done it. We entered this development space, right? And even in this space, there's a whole range, right? So you have the NGOs, Oxfam, for example. Those are like charities, non-for-profit, etc., etc. You also have consultancies, you have donors. Those are for-profit organizations, right? But they combine profit and impact, right? And even within them, you have a whole range. I mean, I know several organizations where the impact is smaller, and others the profit is smaller. It depends, right? And then the person had a very interesting point. They're like, the other route to it can be that you, for example, join a corporation, or you join some sort of financial firm, make a lot of money, and then use that money to directly influence any impacts or results that you want, right? So I feel it depends a lot on an individual themselves. Me, if I think back to what I know now and 10 years back, I would still probably not put myself as a finance person or a very big corporation person. I would probably make the same choice again with a few lessons over the way. Maybe we can talk about them later on. Definitely would stay in this space. Within this space, how you approach life and how you approach your career is then sort of, you learn along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We lost Mercy a bit there, so
Yeah.
I will just continue. You know, you see, because as part of what we do, even in Tungsten, with the whole entrepreneurial thinking approach, we make sure that whatever you venture into is something that you are very passionate about, because the challenge and of life is going to come and test you, you know. And if you are not really that passionate, you will give up eventually. As you said, both of you, that it's not as rewarding, but it also takes up so much of the time. Hadiza mentioned about traveling and stuff like this. And also beyond that, you have to, you know, battle what I'll call general world politics, because governments have their agenda. The United Nations, who is the overseer of sustainable development and all the developmental work, and then you have enterprises that are privately owned and they want profit. They all care about profit, and then you have the rest of the world who are basically just the beneficiaries and the common man and woman on the street. So it's also a bigger dilemma. But what I would like to know from both of you is, yes, there's fulfillment at an existential level, to a certain extent, maybe financially also, but beyond that, the challenges also exist. So for somebody going into this space, whether they're a doctor, an educator, a lawyer, an economist like Zara, and you know, every different field, what really are the challenges that you face right now that somebody would potentially have to consider before they delve into this space? You know, what are the biggest challenges you have been facing? and also it will help also to know how you've tackled it beyond just having passion for this thing that you're into. So, Hadiza, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. That's a very good question, and I'm going to approach it in two ways. So, firstly, um, being an outsider and how to get into development work, because development work is not does not have like a traditional pathway. So, like if you're going to be a doctor, there's a traditional process. You go into training, you go to med school, you do your clinical years. After that, you might do an internship afterwards and you become a junior doctor, and there's a trajectory to doing that. But just retrospectively looking back, as an outsider before I joined the development world, I mean, I knew that my passion was to be able to make a difference in people's lives. And for me, it didn't really matter how that happened. So it's the same philosophy I live by, whether within my career pursuits or in my personal day to day. So that was very important that that quality existed and resonated with me, and that is definitely something somebody who wants to go into development should ideally possess. But I think in terms of like the skills, my background as a lawyer, going to law school after that, definitely, communication skills, the critical thinking skills, all were very were transferable skills that I was able to translate that I'm able to translate to my day to day, that helped me. But also I found that there were a lot of gaps in terms of the knowledge and skills that I also had to upskill myself. And this is something that the mindset that you have to have, like that you constantly have to develop yourself. And the organization is also, the development industry is very mindful of that, and encourages constant learning and professional development. And you have to and you can play different roles within development, but the path that for me, my role as or typically what I've done over time is program management and implementation. So it's really conceptualizing and designing programs from start and to finish, so to their implementation and reporting to ensure that the whatever aims of the project are achieved, and in a sustainable manner, and so forth. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that you can have skills from wherever you come. I look at the current DSG, the Deputy Secretary General of the UN, who is somebody that Amina Mohammed, who is an individual that I look up to. She's a Nigerian. She's partly from northern Nigeria, and she's a woman. And this is somebody that her background, she started was in nursing. So and you find various other colleagues within the sector who also have backgrounds in non-traditional sectors that all come in to join and become very successful in the development sector. The main point is having those key values, the key transferable skills that you can leverage on and use it to deliver results, or do your job well at the end of the day. So yeah, that would be my response. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Should I come in here?
Please.
Great. No, I think you've raised some really useful points. I like the part where you said there's not one set trajectory. And I also feel that offers opportunities to people, right? I feel there's lots of different roles one can get. I mean, if you join a project, you probably have a specific area, but for anyone interested in this space, my advice, and this is similar to what I ended up doing, was to try and find a role that is sort of a generalist role. And by generalist, I mean where you might be working across sectors, or you might be working in different locations, right? And I feel that sort of role helps you explore a little bit, right? At the start of your career, I mean, now when I talk about it, you probably assume, I mean, when I'm hearing Hadiza, I'm assuming that you've got all your life planned and it's a very neat trajectory, but actually it's not like that, right? Everyone is unsure of the decisions that they make. And yes, passion is there to a point, you know the rough direction, but there's many routes you can take, right? And it's just that everyone has a different way of showing it or dealing with that uncertainty, right? But that uncertainty is fine, as long as you challenge it positively, and like Hadiza said, that you're open to exploring, open to upskilling. And that's why I sort of recommended this generalist sort of route, because then you'll be able to work across I mean, different projects, different sectors, whether it's education, whether it's WASH, whether it's IT or whatever, right? And try and you realize what interests you. And again, to that second point you had of upskilling, I feel that's really important. And again, in this sector, I feel a lot of that comes from people, right? And people and through experience. So my recommendation would really be, and I'm aware we've sort of lost our moderators, but my recommendation would probably be to make sure that you're try and get part of teams where you value the values they have or the skills they have, right? Because a lot of the interaction you're going to get, whether it's on a project or whether it's sort of in terms of writing a report, is going to be through your peers and your mentors, right? And I feel there's a lot of skills you can learn in that space, and you just need to be open to doing that. And I mean, if I have to add one more piece of advice for anyone new wanting to join this sector, is it would just be to like sort of calm down, keep perspective, and go with the flow. Things will work out, things will fall into place. You don't, I mean, I heard someone recommending you work 18-hour days. I would not recommend working 18-hour days, because I feel you need to maintain balance in your life, and then that translates into maintaining balance professionally as well. If you have a hobby, keep your hobby, right? Just because you joined a new organization or you're being asked to work into the late hours of the night doesn't mean you need to leave off sort of living as a human being, because if you do that, it sort of makes for, it starts affecting you at different levels. And I feel through COVID, a lot of people have learned that. And that's sort of been an internal reflection for a lot of people. So, I mean, I would say, yes, it's a rewarding sector. Yes, you should join it if it interests you. But like, be open to change, be open to not knowing stuff. Things change, you need to change with them. I'm not sure what we're supposed to do now. Whether yes, okay, I think we're I just ended speaking, so great timing there.
Yeah, I was actually watching you. It's just it takes some moments to get into the chat box. I mean, to this, but I could actually watch. I was listening to both of you actually.
Great.
Yes. So anyway, we are almost closed. But my final question: development, right? People want it. Organizations want it. Governments want it. And then overall, we have the UN trying to guide what everybody wants development-wise. What is the one pill that you say if you were to just hit it or throw it in there and it happens? For basically, what should be the focus be in terms of actually achieving this development for people, for organizations, and also for societies, for everybody basically? Where should the focus be? Just one shot that can help us really move to this thing that everybody wants, because we all say the same thing, one development, but what is one thing we should focus on moving forward? It can be policy, it can be a sector that, or industry we should focus on. Maybe you say, let's focus on education. Maybe, all of that. Just what is one thing we should focus on? Hadiza.
I think that's a trick question there.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
thinking a lot.
Hadiza, do you want to go first? I'm happy to give it a shot if
Yeah, please go ahead.
no, I feel that's a bit of a trick question because a lot of like in your introduction to your question, you said everything is connected, right? And changing one bit in isolation will not really achieve much. When we're even talking of education, it's system change that you need, right? And that doesn't come on its own. You need the finance department to be involved. You need the social welfare department. You might need health, right? So I feel it's all connected. It's just what your entry point is might be different, right? I mean, I've worked in the education space. And the reason I work in the education space is because I feel, for me personally, I feel a lot of the problems come from inequalities in opportunities. So people are not aware of what their life can be, what potential it can have. And I feel, I mean, education is one way to addressing that, right? It's not always the best way. Just putting a child in school does not mean that he's going to end up or she is going to end up learning. A lot more needs to go on, but I feel at a basic level, it's this awareness and letting people know what they're capable of doing, because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? Everyone wants to make the best choices for themselves, for their children. It's just where the way horses have blinders, right? Where those blinders are set for society. And I think for me, the important thing is to push those blinders out so that everyone feels, I mean, that they can achieve beyond what they want. And that's not an easy thing, right? That's not going to happen from one solution. It needs a lot of work at a lot of different levels.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you've, yeah, Hadiza, definitely.
Yeah, I think Zara really saved us on this one. I agree that, yes, I completely agree. That the way that development has, you know, traditional development approaches, have evolved over time, and definitely uh, more and more, where the development sector is looking at how, we can leverage with it of each other to be able to make impact. So working with different partners, non-traditional actors, engaging young people, particularly, who have innovative ideas and innovative approaches. And young people are, when you look at the population size, they have a very huge potential in terms of, making that decisive shift, to change the course of things. The development 2030 development agenda is certainly around the corner. But this might also inform why in regions such as Africa, where there's a huge the young people are the major demography. We have our agenda 2063, which definitely is going to give some more time to really calibrate those development indices for young people to see how they can make transformative change. So I think the idea of entrepreneurial thinking is also something that linking it to the theme of this event, and really what it stands for, building young people's skills, being built, whether it's they have interest in entrepreneurship or creating access to education, giving them those opportunities, like Zara said, the opportunities, expanding their opportunities to see what they can achieve, to broaden their scope in terms of what they can achieve is definitely something that we should focus on going forward. So for me, that's the angle that I would really come from.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you. I always like to say that whether it's families or organizations or governments, they are all run by people, and what leads to the actions of people is what they have up here. whether it's knowledge, it's skill, or it's mindset or attitude. So I think that will help marry what both you guys have said to make sure that I think mindset that leads to better actions, and then as a result, better development for each of us is something that even though we always like to think too much within the formal conventional school system, everybody learns. Life is learning, it's education, and even as we are right now, we are all pushing for those type of capacity or way of thinking and doing things, taking action for the betterment of everybody. So I do totally agree with you, and I very much appreciate what you guys have really contributed to the audience. I hope I've done good job with your time. I've shot over by 3 minutes, I see. So, and the next panel is coming up very soon. Actually, some of them have already started. So, on that note, unless if you have any final words before we close this session.
Thank you very much. This was really helpful. And like you said, life is constant learning. This is learning and just pushing yourselves to keep thinking and to keep changing.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed the session and the discussions. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to, share some of my insights. And I hope, we're able to, give that insight to the audience and to the listeners. And yeah, just, have that entrepreneurial mindset. Zara said, keep pushing yourself, continuous development. Ask questions, explore. The internet now, the web has everything, and so just make sure that you're constantly learning and changing the environment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zara. Thank you very much, Hadiza, and I look forward to next time, hopefully learning more from you, from the development side of things, and also how we can better also move towards the same agenda as a nation, as a continent, as a world. So thank you very much, and have a nice evening, have a nice day, wherever you are.
Thank you. Thank you
you
so much.
Thank you.